Hello, bonjour, welcome. My name is Esmeralda Rodriguez Arias, Trade Advisor at the World Trade Center, Winnipeg. I would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that this webinar is coming to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene people, and on the national homeland of Red River Métis. Thank you for joining our webinar, Choosing the Right International Market, which will be presented by Ivanka Watkin, Market Research Specialist here at the World Trade Center, Winnipeg, and Victoria Umin, our special guest and Director and Co-Founder at Green&Clean Global. A few housekeeping information before we start. Please send all webinar questions directly through the chat box at the top of your screen, and Victoria and Ivanka will try to answer as many as they can during the Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. For all logistical questions, please send them directly to the chat box, and I will answer your questions as soon as possible. You will be also receive a PDF copy and the recording of the presentation within the next week. Now it is time to start our webinar. I would like to introduce you to Victoria Umin, Director and Co-Founder of Green&Clean Global. Victoria is a business development executive with 25+ years of expertise in international marketing and strategic development. In her position as a director and co-founder of Green&Clean Global Expert Accelerator, Victoria assists corporate customers in evaluation and executing their market entry strategy and solving their most complex business challenges. Prior to the Green&Clean Global, Victoria managed International Business Development Group for Ag Growth International, global leader in design and supply of agri and food infrastructure projects. Victoria also serves as a Vice President of Canada-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce and member of advisory board for UCO Robotics, Manitoba-based company that produces autonomous self-moving poultry barns. Now, Ivanka Watkin, naturally curious. Watkin is well suited to her role as the market research specialist at the WTC Winnipeg. She has 2 bachelor's degrees, Central and Eastern Europe studies with a minor in Ukrainian, 2016, and a double major in German and Russian, 2017. She also holds a master in business administration in 2020, which involves studies both in Winnipeg and abroad. Watkin's extensive globe-trotting experience bolsters her understanding in international markets and cultures, adding value to her domain in market research locally and internationally. With this introduction, I would like to welcome Victoria and Ivanka. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Esme. So hello, everyone. My name is Ivanka. I'm the Marketing Research Specialist here at World Trade Center, Winnipeg. Participating in global business practices requires a different approach than when expanding into more familiar territories. What might work here could lead to absolute failure abroad and vice versa. Today, we'll discuss how business owners can navigate international laws and customs by researching and adapting their strategies for success. I do reference some subjects that I covered in my first webinar, Marketing Research Basics. If you need a refresher, that webinar is available on our website or over YouTube. Our journey today will touch on several topics. First, defining marketing research and why it's important, then going through a market analysis tool called PEST. Then we'll introduce our special guest speaker, Victoria Umin. The Business Development Bank of Canada defines market research as the process of gathering and analyzing information about customers, competitors, and emerging trends that helps companies make strategic planning decisions about marketing and selling their products and services. This slide references an article from the Harvard Business Review called The Pitfalls of Global Marketing. Kashani's pitfalls occur when businesses lose sight of how things actually are in the target region. Marketing research will help develop your global marketing strategies by influencing decisions to reflect the commonalities and differences among subsidiary markets. Foreigners should not standardize a strategy that works with their own culture and expect it to work universally elsewhere. Business leaders must carefully research to find locals that they can partner with who can offer localized insights, initiative, and decision-making. That way you can properly tailor your offerings. Effective follow-up, which is as important as any pre-launch measure, means identifying common problems hampering implementation, spreading creative solutions found by locals, and winning support for the strategy, so circling back and making it all work. Decisions on strategy are best left to the local subsidiaries, which offers more openness to local input than one centered at headquarters. As a Canadian business leader operating in a foreign state, you will only be able to research and learn so much before you need local partners or leaders to tailor parts of the strategy to suit the local culture. Remember, you don't know what you don't know. Flexibility as a willingness to selectively sacrifice global standards to better suit local conditions should be built into a global strategy's implementation. In the absence of flexibility, standardized marketing risks becoming an obstacle to your competitive advantage. You have to learn your target market because no strategy will be turnkey, no matter how good it seems. Clearly, all of these points go back to researching your target market and understanding what it's like to have boots on the ground. It's crucial for business leaders to dynamically research, learn, and work with their findings to tailor their global strategies to local cultures. Here's an example of things going wrong because the company neglected to thoroughly research its target market. Everyone in the UK, Canada, and the States knows Hallmark. Hallmark is the staple brand greeting card for nearly any occasion, known for its preconceived messages. You don't have to think anything up. It beautifully says it all for you, and all you have to do is sign it. A company founded on emotional, sentimental messaging, the cards are easy, thoughtful, and immensely popular. Hallmark is a smashing success in these markets. With plans on expanding its card business into France in 1998, Hallmark took its proven successful strategy along with it. Unfortunately, that strategy flopped. So what happened? Canada, USA, and the UK have a similar cultural background that they share the history of originating as colonies of England. France's culture is different and does not have the same sort of cultural similarity to North America and the UK. Even in Quebec and Louisiana. Had Hallmark done its research, they would have discovered that French people not only did not regularly gift greeting cards, but they also didn't like the pre-written message concept and considered Hallmark cards impersonal. Let's contrast that last slide with an example of things looking rocky at the start and then working out well in the end. Orange was a telecom company that launched in 1993 in the UK. Its slogan, "The future's bright, the future's orange," worked well across the kingdom until they launched in Northern Ireland, also in 1998. Northern Ireland is divided by religion, Catholics and Protestants. 40% of the population are Catholics who associate with the color green, whereas Protestants associate with the color orange and are often called the Orange Order. Although the company's name could have been perceived offensively, they carefully listened to their marketing team. Northern Ireland was important because it was not the target of most major telecom companies. This meant that they could potentially dominate the market quickly if they could change the consumer habits of the locals, who mostly still operated without a cell phone. Instead of using Orange's problematic usual slogan in the delicate and volatile situation in Northern Ireland, they chose to focus on tailoring their regional strategy to the local market by pushing a purely Northern Ireland-focused advertising campaign. This move gained them 20% of the market by mid-2000s. There's many things to consider when choosing to work within a specific market. Economic factors include interest and tax rates, policies and laws, employment and wages, and government activities. It's also important to keep up with current events because they can have an enormous influence on the economy and business environment. The political atmosphere of a country can affect your business's ability to operate there, ranging from political stability, corruption, and policies. Currency plays a vital role in your business's ability to profit. If a currency is unstable or it fluctuates, it'll affect your bottom line. Procurement practices refers to anything and everything around the management of your purchases. Negotiations with suppliers, logistics, record keeping, and even payment practices may be very different than what you're used to, so it's worth knowing before you go into the new market to avoid any nasty surprises. Of course, if you're planning to operate in another country or work with a foreign entity, you must be able to functionally communicate in a common language, and Google Translate is not the best way to do it. Business culture is another important factor to consider when choosing a foreign market. Some subtle cultural differences can make or break the deal. If you're not deeply familiar with the foreign culture, you may want to bring local to the table and hire someone from that specific region as your liaison. One useful tool is the Doing Business Project by the World Bank, where you could see the ranking of a country in the Ease of Doing Business Index. The last information available is dated between 2019 and 2021, but can still give you an idea of what to expect per country. This will be replaced next year in 2024 by a more comprehensive tool called the Business Ready or Be Ready Project, which will assess the business climate of more than 180 economies and 54 countries. Market analysis is a quantitative and qualitative assessment that provides an overview of a market's characteristics and emerging future trends. Consider the size of the market and its value, the target customer segments and their buying patterns, its potential profitability, the competition, and the economic environment, such as barriers to entry, regulation, ease of doing business rating, and other governmental and social factors, as well as market trends, key success factors, and growth rate. You'll tailor your research the deeper you go into your analysis, depending on your business's requirements, which will also change over time. Market analysis is a dynamic process that should be continuously checked and rechecked to ensure that your business can navigate your chosen foreign market as it changes. Here's an example of the higher level country risk index and sovereign ratings that World Trade Center Winnipeg has access to, which will give information on global, regional, and country risk assessments, analyses, and expert commentary. Each of these provides detailed information about each country's short and long-term borrowing risk, as well as risk of sovereign countries' default, and other information related to finance in the foreign market. PEST is an external evaluation of businesses' prospects in a new market. An acronym, meaning each letter stands for a different word, it organizes these external factors into 4 categories: political, economic, social, and technological factors. In PEST, the P stands for political, which may include legislation, policies, or other factors that affect the governance in your target market. The World Trade Organization defines market access as an umbrella term for a number of measures that a country may use to restrict imports. Investopedia defines it as the ability of a company or country to sell goods and services across borders. Tariffs, government fees on imported or exported goods, can be identified by using HS codes. Banned, restricted, or controlled goods may either need special permits to enter a country or be completely forbidden. Safety and testing requirements vary between countries or even regions within them. Rules of origin refers to how much production must occur in a country for the goods to be considered to have originated there. This is important in determining economic nationality of a product and its coinciding tariffs. Labeling laws differ in each country and often within different regions of that country. For example, in Quebec, all products sold in the province can be labeled French, must be labeled French, and that the use of French must be given at least equal prominence with other languages on any packages or containers. Lastly, logistics refers to the distributors and suppliers and how they manage the acquisition, transportation, and distribution of the goods. Logistics can be affected by political conflicts between countries, as well as tariffs and other regulatory cross-border issues. The E in PEST stands for economic, which impacts a company's long-term success in a market. It includes the target's disposable income and employment rate, inflation and interest rates, the exchange rate and its stability, which will affect your bottom line, and the general state of the economy. According to the Corporate Finance Institute, there are 3 types of foreign exchange risk. First is transaction risk, which occurs when a company has operations in a different country, then tries to move its earnings back home. When doing business elsewhere, you must use their local currency. The risk is in the time delay between settlement of the transaction and changing the foreign currency into Canadian currency. The second foreign exchange risk is economic risk or forecast risk, which is the risk that a company's market value is impacted by unavoidable exposure to exchange rate fluctuations, often created by systemic or macroeconomic conditions like government regulations or geopolitical issues. The third type of foreign exchange risk is translation risk, which occurs when a Canadian headquartered company conducts business in a foreign country, but its financial performance is denoted in Canadian currency. This risk increases when more of the company's assets, liabilities, or equities are in the foreign currency. WTC Winnipeg has access to several reports, surveys, and insights involving business domestically as well as abroad. Not only can we pull reports on competitors and information about their revenue, we can also look up information about positioning and alternatives, reports on demographics for specific areas in North America, pardon me, and help you get current information and insights of the region in which you are planning to correspond. HS codes, the harmonized system, is an internationally standardized numerical method of classifying traded products for the process of exporting goods. Knowing your HS codes will help you assess duties and taxes, as well as gather stats about your products and services, so you can better navigate the economy when exporting your product into another market or importing one into ours. S stands for social, such as demographics, lifestyle, and culture. Social factors will affect consumer buying patterns as well as attitudes and opinions of products and services. I'm going to reference a great article from the Harvard Business Review by Erin Meyer called Being the Boss in Brussels, Boston, and Beijing, where Meyer explores attitudes toward authority. Consensual egalitarian, the bottom left corner of the quadrant, refers to management styles where the boss is the facilitator, not the decider. It requires a very long decision-making process with many meetings and correspondences, and once a decision is made, it's very difficult to change later. Consensual hierarchical, the bottom right quadrant, is where the team defers to the boss's decision but expect to be part of the decision-making process. The boss must listen to dissenting opinions. Again, decisions are difficult to change later. Next, we have top-down hierarchical, the top right quadrant, where the boss is the director, not the facilitator, and will be deferred to in public and in private. In this quadrant, as the boss, you must be explicit with your expectations, otherwise a suggestion may be seen as a set-in-stone decision. Last, we have top-down egalitarian, with which Canadians are more familiar. Team members are expected to contribute their ideas and take initiative, no matter the status, before the decision is made. Once decided, each team member is expected to quickly align with the boss and be supportive. Everyone's expected to remain flexible, as decisions can change with new information. The Japanese, in contrast to Canadians, are hierarchical in their views toward authority, deferential to the boss and accustomed to waiting for instructions rather than taking the initiative. But they are consensual decision makers who get buy-in before they set a course of action. A good friend of mine who was born in Mexico with Japanese heritage was chosen to do an accounting audit of a Japanese vehicle plant in northern Mexico. She was taken on a tour and saw the workers in the factory, all of whom stopped working at the sound of a buzzer and took part in some mandatory calisthenic exercises. At the completion of the tour, she had some questions, which she asked directly to the head of the plant while looking at him in the eye. Outraged, the manager contacted her company and complained about her unprofessionalism because she was considered lower status in the hierarchy. She was expected to relay her questions through someone of similar status who would then pass the information to the authority in their own localized Japanese-style process. Here I reference another fantastic article from the Harvard Business Review, again by Erin Meyer, called Getting to Si, Ya, We, Hai, and Da, How to Negotiate Across Cultures. Each culture has communication norms that we should be aware of before we do business there. What gets you to yes in one culture gets you to no in another. The first point Meyer discusses is to adapt the way you express disagreement with upgraders and downgraders. Upgraders are words you might use to strengthen your disagreement, such as totally, completely, absolutely. Downgraders, such as partially, a little bit, and maybe, soften the disagreement. Russians, the French, Germans, Israelis, and the Dutch use a lot of upgraders with disagreement. Mexicans, Thai, the Japanese, Peruvians, and Ghanaians use a lot of downgraders. Meyer's second point is to know when to bottle it up or to let it all pour out. To recognize what an emotional outpouring, whether yours or theirs, signifies in the culture you are negotiating with, and to adapt your reaction accordingly. In some cultures, it's common and appropriate during negotiations to raise your voice when excited, laugh passionately, or even put a friendly arm around your counterpart. In other cultures, such self-expression not only feels intrusive, but may even demonstrate a lack of professionalism. Mexicans tend to disagree softly, yet express emotions openly. They perceive emotional expressiveness as a sign of honesty, yet are highly sensitive to negative comments and can be offended easily. On the other hand, Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands are open to disagreement, which is seen as positive as long as it's expressed calmly and factually. Third, Meyer states that you must learn how the other culture builds trust. Cognitive trust is based on the confidence you feel in someone's accomplishments, skills, and reliability. In other words, you know your stuff, you're reliable, pleasant, and consistent. You demonstrate that your product or service is of high quality. I trust you. Effective trust comes from feelings of emotional closeness, empathy, or friendship. In other words, we laugh together, relax together, we see each other on a personal level, so I feel affection or empathy for you. I trust you. Fourth, Meyer suggests avoiding yes or no questions. In some cultures, the word yes may be used when the real meaning is no. In other cultures, no is the most frequent knee-jerk response, but it often means let's discuss further. To help bring along an individual to act as a cultural bridge. Someone who is from the other culture or knows the other culture intimately, who can help you navigate the meaning behind these responses. Lastly, Meyer suggests being careful about putting it in writing. Although Canadians rely heavily on written contracts to outline expectations after agreeing on price and details, other cultures don't consider contracts to be legally binding, particularly in less developed economies where the legal system is often less reliable. Remember that everything in these countries is also dynamic and no deal is ever really 100% final. T stands for technological, which affects some industries more than others at different times in different ways. Some factors include the integration of new tech, IT, e-commerce, and communication, resources, automation, R&D, and production techniques, and of course the patents and licensing of these technologies. The origin of the fourth industrial revolution concept is usually credited to Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, who wrote about it in his book in 2016. However, others recognize Wolfgang Wallster, a scholar of Hamburg University, for introducing the term in 2011 at a German trade show. According to Schwab, this technological revolution will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. It's characterized by the exponential advancement in the sciences and its implication on society and daily life, which include big data, AI, 3D printing or additive manufacturing, biotech, the IoT and IoE, blockchain, RPA, and automated vehicles. And that's not even an exhausted list. Businesses need to take advantage of the tech as it changes and take on and overlap concepts like IoE as much as possible to streamline operations. Technology helps us work smarter, not harder. Remember, you don't know what you don't know, so distilling information from a holistic viewpoint will be your best tactic. Get the highest quality info from everywhere possible so that you can get the big picture and go from there. That wraps up my portion of the presentation, and now we'll move on to our very special guest. We're privileged today to have Victoria Umin join us. As Esme previously mentioned, Victoria is a business development executive with 25 plus years of expertise in international marketing and strategy development. What you don't know is how much she travels. Victoria has been to 60 countries and is one of the top exclusive 1,000 in the world's Star Alliance members. In fact, Victoria is traveling so much that she's joining us from Denmark, where she's stopping by before continuing on to Germany to visit an agricultural trade show. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Ivanka. Thank you. That was a very, very nice introduction and interesting facts from my history of travel. And I am not stopping at 60 countries. There is still way more for me to visit than I visited before. And I hope I will visit at least 60 more in the next 10 or 15 years. Maybe not necessarily for business, but hopefully some for business too. So great presentation, Ivanka. You covered so many interesting topics and you did such an excellent job explaining all these details of how to choose the market and how to enter the market. That I wish I heard this presentation when I just started my first international venture. Great job.
Thank you.
And yes, thank you for inviting me, and I'm very, very excited to be here and to be able to share my personal experience with you and with all people that we have here in the audience. And I hope that my experience will help them and will be beneficial in their own exploration of international business or in their own adventures around the world. So, and by the way, congratulations for deciding to go global. As I understand, people that are here because they do decide to expand their business outside of Canada or outside of Manitoba. You are at the start of, or some of you may be already in the middle of some very, very exciting journey. It's really exciting to try to expand your business, and especially exciting to look into new countries, new regions, new markets. And of course, for small and medium-sized emerging business, even for larger companies, going global is such a significant undertaking that could disrupt your business activities. At the same time, it always hopefully brings very significant rewards. So it's very crucial for any business owner or business development leader to understand the full impact and do proper prep work to ensure that the rewards of this move outweigh the risk that you are taking. So going global. I just want to share some of my personal experience and what I recommend to do when you decide to go internationally. And what I find helpful is that before you dive deep into going globally, you have to answer to the three key questions: why, when, and how. And remember that you have to review these questions every time when you decide to go to a new country. Like Ivanka explained that even some of the international markets seem to be similar, there is still a big difference, even, for example, between countries in Europe. That's why you have to go through this process I recommend to go through this process every time when you look into new markets. So start with why. This is a very simple question, but really people go globally or expand their businesses for many different reasons. Why do you want to try to expand internationally? Is it because you want to travel internationally? Or is it your main goal is really to improve your sales or improve your margins? It's two very different stories. When you are trying to improve your revenue and increase your revenue, or you really are trying to do better in terms of earnings of your company. Or maybe your main reason to go international is just to secure a position of your company on the market and to build your global brand. If you're looking to expand worldwide or just want to find one market to diversify your business, but maybe you don't need the whole global dominance in your sector or space. In one way or another, you need to decide what is your ultimate goal and what you are trying to achieve with this move, because this really has a very significant impact on the strategy and the best entry mode that you will find. Having a clear goal also helps us to evaluate our results and assess our success after we started the move. So very important to understand why you want to expand. Next question, when? When is the right time for you, for any company to go offshore first time or go into the new territory? And when is very important to know and evaluate, are you ready to do it? Do you have all the resources required, both financial and human resources? How this move will affect your ability to maintain and grow your business domestically? Are there any specific events in your target market that may prompt you to expedite this move or maybe delay the move? As an example, signing a free trade agreement with a specific country. For Canada, for example, Canada signs a free trade agreement with a specific country. This could be a really perfect opportunity and time for you to look into this market. Sometimes, and actually quite often, there are some special government programs or incentives in place to support businesses that want to start trading or expanding into the country with such agreement in place. So it's a good opportunity to do the move. The last crucial question is how. This is where the strategy comes in place. So with what do you go to the market? With all of your product the same as you have in your domestic business, only with one product, maybe some products? Do you need to actually localize your product? In most of the cases, absolutely, you do have to do it. Also, who is your partner? Who is your client? Your client in the new market may be completely different category of client, or maybe completely different even sector in a new country than you have here in Canada. So all this really determines your market entry strategy. And this is what you need to review every time and have a clear strategy for every new market that you enter. Very often people are tempted to follow their intuition and think that our experience and success domestically prepared us for international move. But as Ivanka explained again, when you go abroad, you may find a completely new world. And very often we think we travel globally, we know how the world works, but traveling for pleasure or as tourists, it's a completely different story from traveling for business. And when you try to expand your business and try to talk to the same people with whom you're friends from your travel as a tourist, and when you try to do business with them, you may find it's something very, very different. That's why once you make the move, you may find the traditional world looks slightly different, something more like this, which is completely upside down, but is it really upside down? This is something I like this view at our traditional map, because it really kind of prompts you to think a little bit differently about the same things and forget all the stereotypes that you are used to, or at least forget about your very, say, traditional ways to do business at home, because when you go globally, you do need to find very different ways to approach things, and you may have actually to forget completely everything that you learned so far about your product or your business domestically. You had good examples earlier today about customs, culture that affect all decisions in businesses. That's why this is for you opportunity to decide how your product will react in new situation, how your service will be seen in the new environment. Are they easily transferable? Are they solving the same problems in new countries that are solving here in Canada? All these important topics better to know and understand before you expand globally. You may actually find that domestically you're making way better progress without going international. Saying that, I'm not stopping you from go, because again, I'm very excited about people trying to enter into new territories. I just want to make sure that they achieve success from the very first try. So what is important after answering all these questions? It's your planning, your research that again was very well described today by Ivanka, and analysis of the situation, developing your strategy. more time and resources you spend on researching your target market and gathering your market intelligence information to build your strategy, then the more chances you will enjoy your success sooner and achieve your goals faster. Remember about goals, we spoke about that earlier. And again, remember to do it every time when you go to a new country and new territory. Each market has its own nuances, and each market brings some new perspectives and some new surprises. Important to develop a localized strategy and entry plan for each market. I cannot emphasize it enough because it's something that many people forget especially when they achieve some early success with the first country or first territory that they enter, and then they think that they can replicate again and again. Please pause, stop, and try to review everything again and make sure that the next move will be as successful as your first one. Also, it's very important to remember that your strategy in every new country needs to be integrated with the overall corporate strategy and with your business objective. Once your strategy is determined, you work on an implementation plan and a timeline. There is no such thing as being over-prepared. I always say that. And your plan always helps to focus your limited resources for most of companies, especially I understand that most of companies that are here at the seminar today are small or medium-sized businesses. They have limited resources. So for them to use their limited resources in the best opportunity for the best opportunities in the most optimal way, the key to that is to do their research beforehand. And the last important, very, very important note is the control. Every step, this step that is very often is just overlooked. Once you start it, make sure that you review the results and adjust your strategy if that's required. You have to control on repeat. Do not change the strategy because you cannot do everything at once. But adjustments sometimes are necessary. And again, this is going back to our goal. If you have a very clear goal, you will be able to review your results and understand, are you on a way to achieve your goal, or do you need to adjust what you are doing? And in some cases, don't be afraid if you need to retract or if you need to take a pause and re-enter the different time and different product with different product proposal or with a slightly different marketing campaign or do something different in the market. Sometimes it's better to stop earlier and review than to continue going into the wrong direction. And of course, there are many different tools and many different strategies that you can use how to determine your best strategy. I can present two maybe tools today, or actually just one tool, but two options that it provides you. And this is really something that I like to use when I look into new markets. And there are, as I said, there are many different ways to do it, but this is the one that is called your strategic quadrant. And it kind of tries to, or helps to provide segments of the market and evaluate your strategy, how to enter your market. Each segment that you see here has a very specific focus, and the two on the left side are the market and customer developments that are very often and most often are used for entering the new markets. The two segments on the right side that are focused on customer retention and stimulation, they're used mostly just to keep your market situation and expand in the existing market. That's why because of the lack of time today and limited time today, and because of the topic of our session, we will be speaking about the two segments on the left side. They are most common for the initial market entry. So first segment is the customer development. The easiest way to explain it is you are stealing customers from your competition. And usually it's used in the countries or markets, territories where there are customers that are already familiar with your product and you have something to offer that is superior to what currently is available to them on their market. This one is a very common way to enter new markets, especially with products that are very well known. For example, if it's a food product or something that is very used by people, but when you feel that you have a very strong, specific competitive advantage and you can go to this new territory. And of course, your competitive advantage is not always the price. It may be a better customer service, it may be a shorter lead time that you can offer, maybe a higher product quality, maybe some unique taste or some initial real additional features that are not currently available to customers on the market. For example, it could be something like a brewery. If you're a brewery in Manitoba and you developed a very specific beer recipe, your beer is very popular here, you want to go down south to the US and bring your beer. So this is the strategy that you would be using. That to offer that new product down in the US, you have to enter somehow offer something special to the customer. Usually this strategy also requires a significant investment at the beginning of your entry into the market. So with the beer example, you probably will need to offer some free samples. In some cases, maybe if you are equipment manufacturers, you may have to provide some demo product at your cost before customers will understand all the special features of your product. Sometimes finding the right partner may help. Like again, in a brewery example, you may have to find a co-packer in that country, which helps you to distribute and to lower your cost in that country, but it still helps you to enter into the market. In some cases, it's absolutely necessary to find such partners. And the examples that you have see here on this slide is actually from my past history from Brazil, when the product that we were providing, and that time I worked for a company that manufactured and supplied post-harvest storage solutions. The product itself was in a very high demand in the country. Local grain infrastructure required very significant improvements. We had a better engineering solution. And in all other countries, in Latin America, we were able to sell our product with just setting up our sales network. But with Brazil in specific, Brazil has a very high import duties for that type of equipment. And in this particular case, we had to acquire a local company and use their premises to build a new facility and to start producing our equipment in that country. As you may imagine, it required quite a significant initial investment, but it was the only way really for us to enter the country. So this is about the stealing the customer, which, as you can see, not necessarily is the easiest way to do it. The next strategy, which usually is applicable more to the situations where you have a very unique, very innovative product, something that is not well known or not even, say, at this moment required by your customers. So it's not required because they just don't know that such solution exists. And this sometimes this segment is called creating the market before you can actually get and sell your product. So converting not non-customers into customers. So the benefits of this strategy is that once you create that market, you can enjoy a really leadership position on the market. You can become the only company on that market that offer that product. And if you are the only company that offer that product or sell goods or services, you can probably charge a premium for that. But of course, to develop it, usually you have to get into some very creative ways how to build that market awareness with your customers. In the situation that you see right now on the slide, it's actually one of my current partners that we are working in Ukraine with them. And in Ukraine, most of the customers are not familiar with the market for carbon credits. They really do not know that this can be a source of their income. And before we actually can come to the country and offer them to sell these carbon credits, we have to educate them about the market for carbon credits, educate them how they can improve the soil sequestration, how they can get better technologies to have a better results with their soil. So in this case, we have to partner with government agencies, with international development funds to create such educational resources for the farmers before we can even come and offer them our solution. It's not a very easy task, but again, it allows us to become the market leaders and to be there ahead of everyone else. So this is a technique or strategies that allows you to have a higher position and enjoy some really good rewards on the market. And what also is important to know that sometimes in some situations, you can even with the same product, you can decide the strategy that you can use either first or second strategy that I explained today. So we can talk about two others, but first of all, it's not really a topic of our seminar today. And secondly, I believe there is some questions that people want to ask. That's why thank you very much for your attention today. You can always reach out to me directly with my email address. I think it's somewhere here that you can see my email address. Yes, please feel free, and you can always Google my name and reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will be very, very happy to answer your questions after the seminar. But right now, I believe we also have some questions in our chat.
Thank you very much, Victoria. We will check if we have already questions on the chat. So there is one question from Zainab. The question is, why are BBC and other bank lenders focused only on giving loans to businesses starting 1 year or 2 even without registered business regulation, but only considering cash flow revenue? He said, in my analysis research in Business Editor, only Canada bank lenders have these regulations of loaning business starting 1 to 2 years of revenue, compared to other countries doing business trades in the global market. Why not start with documentation first before the cash flow revenue?
Ivanka, you want to take that because it's more of a...
So not sure if you would like to probably open your mic, sign up, and clarify your question a little bit.
Yes, which documentation do you mean specifically? It's a good question. You would need to have documentation before you do your cash flow.
Yeah, just like Victoria, the first presentation on risk, on registration, on knowing the place where you do your business. So you have to register to know, like in Canada, you register and company in office, all the regulation, everything. The same place where you go again to do exploration of doing business, you register in that business. So you got all the paperwork, you know the risk, you know this. Then the time now of the seed for you to start producing to sell to the customer. There, the reason I ask why BDC or Canada banks always focus on cash flow and revenue. They forgot saying these are the risks, where you buy, how you buy, and all those documents. How do you get them? You don't get them for free. You have to pay to get all those items. Why do they focus on cash flow, leaving the documentation?
We actually can provide some documentation. So you're in the right place. If you have questions about certain countries and like the things that I talked about, you can actually submit them to World Trade Center Winnipeg, and we'd be happy to give you some so that you have supporting documentation to bring to the bank.
Yeah, the bank will tell you, you got everything, but they say you have to get a revenue, 1 year, 2 year revenue. We done all that. Yeah, you go to the bank, they do everything, I schooling, we done everything. But the bank now, you go there, you have to get a 1 year revenue, which or 2 years revenue, which doesn't include with all those documentation.
Right. Well, if you have some questions about your small business, again, you can submit them, and we have some excellent advisors that'll help walk you through some of that process so that you have more of what you might need to present to the bank. They help people like with these situations all of the time.
Okay, thank you. Other people might have to discuss again, but like we done that, and Rick is my at World Trade Center. I've been there since 2016. Going training, do this information. I'm just, the bank is the problem, my dear. We want to do the business, especially Canada, and we are competing. Most of other countries, they said like a place of Sierra Leone. We have all minerals. People come in, they put on the data, say it's a risk, but they are the one that are saying in a risk, they are the one go buy. How do they buy? So there is a misinformation in there. We need to change. But thank you. But we keep on doing that. So
Thank you,
do
Zainab,
have
for your question. I will put our email address. You can send us your question, and we can definitely have a trade consultation or business consultation in order to see other options for you.
We do have a contractor that works with us who is specifically he has some knowledge in exactly the minerals and whatnot in Africa as well. So that might be a good resource for you.
So when will be the best time to reach you? Because that's my only business I do. How can I reach you? How can I book appointments to give you everything you need?
You check the chat box. There's a little email address there. Send all of your questions and someone will book an appointment with you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just shared our email address so you can send your question right there. Okay, I have a comment from Dennis. Excellent presentations, an opportunity to share different perspectives and challenges and to act globally. Very nice to see you, Victoria. Always welcome to visit us in Brazil.
Thank you. I love Brazil. It's such a nice country. Love traveling to Brazil. I love their food, very friendly people. I hope I will have again a chance to visit your country. Thank you, Dennis.
Perfect.
I actually have a question or two if no one else has one. Do we have time for a question? Yeah, we've got 5 minutes, it looks like. Okay, very good. All right, Victoria. Have you ever made mistakes while conducting business? And can you share any pivotal moments or lessons learned from your career journey that have been instrumental in your success?
Wow, I can talk for hours answering that question. Mistakes, of course, there were quite a few mistakes. Yeah, nobody is prone to making mistakes. Some actually today you were talking about the how being the boss is different and perceived in different countries. And one of the mistakes that I made in early years of my career, I was working on a very large project. It was in Malaysia. And I was invited to the last meeting with a customer. And by that time, I was aware that my price is the best for the product that I was offering. My solution was the best. So the meeting, I thought, is going to be just a meeting to kind of sign the deal. When I came to the meeting, the customer, who was represented by 5 or 6 people in a room, and the top person from the company was there, they asked about additional discount. And at that point, because I did know that I am the best right now, that my price is the best, I didn't see the reason just give discount because I'm here in the room. And the customer didn't even say that, well, they are willing to do this or that, and that's why they're asking about discount. It was just straightforward, we want a discount. And I politely say, well, I gave you a fair price, this is my price. And unfortunately, I lost the deal because, as I found out later, that in their culture, if the boss asks in front of other people about something, you have to give that discount. So then I was always prepared, and if there is a boss and is in the room, you have to really help him to maintain his face, because it was very important for him that he negotiated that small discount at the end with this supplier. So I did lost the deal, and I learned a very good lesson that time. It was my very significant mistake.
I've got another one for you. How about, what tools, technologies, or resources do you use for conducting international market research, and how have they evolved over time?
Yes, that's a very good question. And of course, World Trade Center is a perfect resource for this type of research and for all kind of questions that I have or other people have. Always feel free to reach out. Trade commissioners, embassies, always, if you already know the country that you want to target, please, you can go directly. If not, in Winnipeg, we have trade commissioners that always are happy to help you. EDC, Export Development Canada, they also have people that are responsible for helping you to research your market or to find the best strategy for your market. So Canada really helps companies, like, for example, seminars that we have today, right? It's to help all companies to make the right decision when they expand globally. So there are many different tools available. And I always find these very, very helpful. Trade missions is invaluable for us at the beginning when we started to go internationally, because it's a real opportunity to meet with potential customers and to get one-to-one time with your potential customers. If you just travel as a lonely traveler coming to a new country, it's very difficult to get meetings with your potential customers. But when you're part of trade mission, it's a really good way to do it. So I strongly recommend to follow the trade missions if they go to your potential interesting country to target or in your sector. Very good tool, very recommended. And industry events, conferences, trade shows. I personally prefer even conferences versus trade shows, because you can meet and talk to people way more, especially when you're just starting, before going to the trade show. Trade show is a very significant expense. And thanks to Manitoba Trade, now we do have some support for this type of expenses, but it's still very significant expense for any small company. So going to the conference, it's actually less expense, but you can get some really, really good insights and develop some very good connections at the conferences.
That was very interesting. Do I have time for one more, Esme, or should we wrap things up?
I think we need to wrap up right now. Thank you,
Gotcha.
Victoria. And before we conclude with our webinar, I would like to say thank you, Victoria and Ivanka, and all our participants. Please remember to register for our next events and check our YouTube channel for past videos. Thank you very much for your attention and have a great day.